a lot of the folders are lacking. So everybody's gonna make a effort to make sure we get at least one vetted per month and to put into the folder. Okay, so we have our standard, we have our writing standard, we've got our content standard. Now we're gonna move to our learning goals. So let's talk about, what do we remember about our learning goals? They need to be sequenced from
easiest to level
to
higher.
Right, okay. And we have 2 here: identify, which that would be a lower level, and then analyze, which is a.
And don't everybody get nervous because we got the curriculum director like watching over us. There's no pressure here. Look at Brittany.
All right. Moving on.
I have editing power.
Okay.
Okay, so identify characteristics of fiction and nonfiction, and then analyze the structure of a book to determine if it is fiction or nonfiction. Okay, talk to me about those. Do you feel like those are strong learning goals? Are those rigorous? So we'll be able to start with a verb? Yes. And we have sequence from lower to higher. Yes. And analyze, we know.
So we think so.
Okay. All right. So you've got 2 learning goals, so that means you should have at least 2 learning activities. And some of your lessons I know may
take more days.
Yeah,
than
more than
right. Some things go over more than one day.
Okay,
I don't know if this one does or not.
I've not looked. Okay.
Our analyze we do for 2 days.
Okay. So students will know.
Now that one we probably need to work on because we're supposed to. We do it a little differently now.
Right. So from how we had written them originally, we kind of changed that after we've gotten some feedback from the learning focus trainers. So in bold here, you'll see prior knowledge from previous standards. But do you think you really need to change those?
I mean, we've talked about that when we read books. It's just we've not had them start analyzing it. So maybe not.
But so that vocabulary, though, think about even in kindergarten, nonfiction, fiction, and text. Do you think those would be words that they might have even heard in kindergarten?
They should.
Yes.
And that you've probably used that before this year, too.
Yeah, they've heard those throughout the year.
Yeah.
So I think that would be fine there.
Okay.
Right? Okay, so then the last part of that planning step 1 is our essential question. So let's take a look at that. And I know you guys always like to answer yours, but just for Dr. Curry's sake, we know that we don't always put an answer on there, but you guys like to put an answer on
Well,
yours.
we like to know kind of where you're headed with it.
Yes. Okay. So how do I?
We don't ever say any of that to
Right.
students.
That's just for your. That's for your.
Just for
knowledge.
I think that's powerful to know the end goal.
Yeah.
I really do.
How do I determine the difference between books that tell stories and books that give information? And then you have a picture there. I'm glad you went back and inserted it. Have you found that that's been helpful, like the ones that you wrote last year? Because this time last year you had started writing some in January. So has that been helpful, having those pictures, and then you can go back and know what it looked like? Okay.
I have a question. Do you actually rewrite that every year with the students? And annotate it every year? Okay. You don't just pull it out from last year and put it up?
No, that's just to kind of show us what we did.
Okay. There's been a couple that we've reworded just a little bit this year.
Okay.
So we've went back and revamped too. So
did you reword them to make them like more rigorous, or you just think it's a better? Okay.
more rigorous, or maybe to match our standard a little better.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So when you actually taught this,
So
you had a difference, not this. I'm just looking at your picture now, and then you box book that. Can you see that books that tell
everybody
stories?
might not have did it, might not have done it that way, but
That's
that's
what yours
just
came out
kind of
with. Right. Okay. And then nonfiction, informational text. Good. So you're calling attention to that vocabulary in the essential question.
They were all pretty similar.
yeah.
I mean, I'm sure they were all pretty similar.
Because those are the things you would talk about in that with your first graders.
Alrighty. So then we're going to go all the way down to or tell me how you feel about planning step 1. Was there anything you think you need to do to make it more rigorous, or are you just satisfied with that? You think it makes sense?
We're good with it.
So we saw the standards for thinking and literacy expectations in the essential question.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so we're going to go down to the assignment. So we're going to scroll all the way to the bottom. And I've not looked at this. I know you shared it with me last night, but I've not looked at it. So this is new for me too. You are the teacher. You have been asked to make lesson plans to teach a kindergarten class how to tell the difference between a book that tells a story and a book that gives us information. Choose 2 books. Analyze each book to determine if it is fiction or nonfiction.
And they would love being the teacher and going and teaching it too.
All right, so let's look at, if we look at our vetting document here, let's look at it and see if the first question, are the will be able to's, the learning goals, evident in the assignment? So let's look back up there. So our will be able to's were
Identify and then analyze.
identify and analyze. So characteristics, to be able to identify the characteristics, I'm thinking that would be the, I'm doing the talking here, but I'm thinking that would be the because part.
Okay.
Would you agree with that? The identify the characteristics, that would be the because, why they have to write the because part. And then analyze.
And then that was their rubric.
They're looking at 2 books to determine that, right?
Mm-hmm. And they have to analyze the structure, so they can't just look at the cover.
Right.
They have to actually get in there and do some analysis. Okay. So let's look at you guys always put you a rubric there, a recording page.
Can we just see it? No, better open it up so we can see all of it.
So then you've got the characteristics of fiction, and then you've got the characteristics of nonfiction.
Yeah,
talk to
and
me about that.
Well, that first one is not. These are
Not
all
the-
the papers for everything. So this
Okay.
first one is not part of the big A.
Okay.
Okay,
used
that's
that
part of the
earlier in the
lesson.
week.
Oh, okay, I got
This
you.
file just has every
Okay,
page for
okay.
that. Does that make
Okay,
sense?
uh-huh.
So go down to the second page, and then that's where
when
they
you
have
That's
to
where
write.
they.
But you know what? That's not a bad idea to have those, because those are actually the
'Cause
characteristics.
it'll tell them.
Yeah.
So you
There's
can
a
give
table
them
of
that.
contents. Mm-hmm.
Well, we had
Well,
an anchor
yeah.
chart.
I started to say on the anchor chart so
Throughout
they
the
can
week.
read. Yeah,
Yeah.
so they can
That
refer
had-
to
Right,
it. Yeah.
and then they did this for 2 different books as part of a lesson, the
Yeah,
scavenger,
scavenger
hunt kind
Uh-huh.
of thing.
Yes.
So,
Okay. So blank, that's where they write the title, this is the recording page.
and
Is a
obviously
fiction
we
book
didn't put
because
Senate
blank.
Sturge on the board because we must have decided to make a page like
Yeah.
this. So maybe we go ahead and change that.
Yeah. Blank is a fiction book because blank, so they have to identify the characteristics there because in the writing. And then you've got your rubric, you've got your essential question. I can identify and analyze a fiction book. Incorrect.
Is that okay?
Things good.
Do you use the rubric or do they do a self-analysis or?
I usually
I show it to them so they know what I'm looking for, and then I use it to grade their work.
Good.
So they don't.
Maybe towards the end of the year they might
Maybe they could
be able to do their own.
Yeah.
I could do a
Yeah.
self-assessment. Yeah.
Or a peer assessment even.
Yeah.
It'd be crazy rigorous for first graders, wouldn't it?
But I have seen some of that because I remember marking that in NESIS. They do have a chance to assess themselves and others. So I know there's opportunities there, and you could we could upload that and attach it right in there because that's that one.
Yeah.
Okay. So talk to me about that. Do you feel that meets the... Oh, let's see. I got to hit myself. So are students expected to use a grade level writing application to complete the assignment?
True.
Yes.
I agree.
Does the assignment include both grade level content expectations and grade level literacy expectations?
Yes.
Yes.
It meets
It
that.
has the writing and the reading in there. Okay. Anything else you want to add to the assignment there?
Now,
think
should we
that
take
makes
out the
sense.
Senate starter thing?
Probably.
Anything you want to change there, because that'll be... I think you can just delete that whole sentence.
I'll take it out.
And you've got that link there, and that link can stay on there. So even after we vet that, because you guys made
We
that,
made all that.
right?
did,
So
yeah.
it's free reign. Okay. not gonna get
No
trouble with
copyright
copyright.
infringements,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes. Okay. All right, steps 1 and 2.
We're
You're
good?
good? All right, let's move on down to the meat of it. Planning step 3. Okay, so let's take a look first, and we're going to answer the question, does the graphic organizer structure, is it based upon the goals? So let's take a look at our graphic organizer. And talk to us about that. Tell us, I mean, obviously it's a Venn diagram, but tell me about the sticky notes.
Well,
Or tell me how you did it.
yeah, let me refresh my memory.
A lot of times you do 1s and 2 stuff with the
We
ones
do.
writing down.
And that's what the sticky
That's what
notes
I'm
are.
wondering.
That's what the sticky notes are. But I'm trying to decide.
That was your
when did
activity
we
1.
make? Yeah, I think in activity 1 we read a fiction book.
Mhm.
No,
I'm gonna go back to.
But you completed it together.
we completed it together. I'm trying to figure out how we determine the characteristics of fiction and nonfiction. Oh, I know. Did we watch a video? Yes.
Your activating strategy.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know that we did that before we read the book, but I was like, how do we get the info? We watched as our activating strategy some things that talked about fiction and nonfiction. And then we completed the Venn diagram, right? And wrote down the characteristics of each and what was similar about both.
Did
They
you write down
recorded-
the characteristics, or did they on
They
the
did.
sticky notes?
They read on the sticky
Well,
note.
in the Venn diagram, I did.
Inside the Venn diagram, we recorded the characteristics, but they recorded on the sticky note what they found.
Well, that's after we sorted some books.
Some books, yeah.
See? So then, after we did the video and we talked about characteristics and filled out the Venn diagram, did we fill out the Venn diagram then, or we waited and sorted the books? Let's see.
I think
We sorted the books.
you modeled first
You
of all.
modeled,
You put a
because we
T-chart
did it.
on the
I
floor
do,
with
we
tape.
do.
And we sorted
And
some
we
books.
sorted some books
I modeled
there.
a few, and then they helped do the rest.
And then they worked in groups.
They worked in
to
groups.
sort books into 2 groups based on how they were the same or different. And they recorded what they noticed onto a sticky note, and they added that to the Venn diagram.
Right. So, like, ones had to record a title of a
title.
nonfiction book, and 2s had to record a characteristic they
Characteristic.
found in it.
Okay.
And 3s had to record a title of a fiction, and 4s had to record a characteristic. So
Okay.
we added that under the Venn diagram on the right, kind of on the right side.
Now, I see you have plan book opened. Is that all apparent in the lesson plan also? Like if somebody else were to use this lesson plan, would they understand that process from looking at your lesson plan? Like say you were to hand this actual lesson plan to
Yeah.
first grade teachers at Taylorsville.
Yeah, right
Yeah.
here.
It is broken
Yeah.
down.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah, 'cause
I
I'm
do.
looking at
It should
we
be.
do,
Are
we
you
do.
in plan book?
Well, I had opened that up.
Yeah, I
'cause
think we
were
copied
on-
straight from here and put it in
Okay.
our plan book.
Yeah.
Good. I was hoping you weren't recreating and reinventing the wheel.
No. So,
And there's the rest.
Okay, so let's go back to the graphic organizer. So let's see if it's based upon the we'll be able to. So our will be able to, remember, we're identifying the characteristics. So let's see that. Does it accomplish that? Does it identify the characteristics? So
Yes.
I would say yes.
so.
Okay. And then analyze to determine. That's more of
Well, that's a
ours.
different-
Yeah, that's more of our
That's our second
actual
lesson goal,
yeah.
so we
Yes,
haven't really
yeah.
done that yet.
right.
Although they really kind of were.
They are. They're analyzing
They
They were,
text.
because they were sorting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they really kind of were.
Okay. Is the vocabulary limited to key terms, and is there a specific strategy plan for previewing the vocabulary terms? So our vocabulary there, we didn't have key vocabulary. It was one that had been introduced before.
Right.
So you're going back to fiction and nonfiction. What about text? Do we have text in there anywhere? Text features. And that is just something, text though is one that you said they should be familiar with.
Oh, yeah, because we talk about
Because
it
we
all
talk
the
about
time.
it all the time.
Okay, the next question. All right, anything else about the graphic organizer? And we talk about for K1, that a Venn diagram is appropriate for compare and contrast. And I showed you guys the thing that we had made in kindergarten, or Christy and Monica and Mary had come up with. Did I show you all that video about a month ago about the actual, where we took the circles and we
Moved it
together? Did I show you all that? Okay, I can't remember what grade level I showed you.
I remember that too. They laid it down physically and moved it, and you could see it move.
So the actual conceptual understanding.
Yeah. So
I
like
want to show
those,
you all that.
like
Yeah.
those things
started
that I
saying, I
have
thought we
for
did that
starting
every one.
those circles. Those
So they
little
can
circle
see-
things that open
Like
up.
the hoop, yes,
Yeah.
you know, like in the classroom we
Yeah.
used to have those hoops. But let me show you all this because this is pretty cool. Let me get real fast.
I think we started talking about that in a group, and you said, let me show it. And maybe since you're the first one, we didn't.
Yeah.
It is neat. Because I was like, man, if I'd have had that when I taught, why didn't I think of that? It's good.
They were trying to explain it to me, and you guys know how visual I am, so I was like, show me.
What do you do with the sticky notes after they're finished? Because I know you don't get rid of them.
It hangs on the ankle chart.
And they can go back and reference them.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so while I'm finding this, let's go ahead and talk about the activating strategy. Oh, well, wait a minute. Let me go back to the graphic. So what I was talking about is, we talk about, like, usually after second or at second grade and above, the Venn diagram is not really considered as rigorous for compare and contrast, but as a graphic organizer. But for K1, we still can use that. Okay, now you can talk about the activating strategy while I find this. So your question is, does the activating strategy build background knowledge for the lesson?
Yes. There's a little song that kind of compares fiction and nonfiction. I don't really remember Sparkly Barkley, but yeah. I think it's one of those PAL tunes or something that talks about fiction and nonfiction.
You don't want to sing Sparkly Barkley right now?
No.
Reminds me of those old, like, conjunction, junction, whatever.
Okay, here's the video, and I cannot take credit for this because I don't know. I've got the sound up because there's no anything.
Can you turn that off? Can you see it? I can see it.
Okay, so I just cut 2 circles out.
It says girl 1 on the first
Group.
one. Oh, group 1.
Girl,
Does it say girl?
girl number 1,
And girl
girl
1.
number 2. Can y'all see?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Green shirt. Green shirt.
And girls on top of that, so they're both girls. Long hair. After I finally get it together. So that helps kids have a visual understanding of why they're, and then we put both. That says both girl 1 and 2. And then we just do the differences there. But I thought that was so
Yeah.
cool. Especially for kinders, because if you just put two circles, if they've never seen it before, and just put two circles on the board, right? Like it's, and you talk about that, but that just gives them more of a understanding. Okay. Is it time to go? Is that the 2 minute?
No, that's
Okay.
the minute.
Okay.
That's the 5 minutes.
Okay. So the activating strategy, I know sometimes you guys do a variety. So, sometimes you do a hands-on, sometimes you do like a game or a puzzle or whatever.
Yeah.
And then this one, you chose just a quick video or two there. Did the learning activities prepare students to successfully complete the assignment? We probably won't be able to get all of these finished, but I think we've already talked about learning activity 1.
Activity 1 kind of went along with the graphic
Right,
organizer.
and you've got your
And then we had our
goal.
assessment.
You've got your goal to the side.
Yeah.
And let's see what your assessment prompt was. Take a stand. Hold up a book we have read recently, and students have to move to the correct sign posted in the room. And then you've got your signs linked there. Again, you guys made those. Those are just
Yeah.
okay.
And then we thought this was a good one to vet and share because, like for learning activity 2, they can choose whatever books they have.
Right. You don't have to
You don't have to be our specific book.
Right. It can be a fiction. Okay. So analyze the structure, and this you're going
I
to
think
do.
it's to determine if it is fiction or nonfiction. Don't you think? To
Let's see, what do you
differentiate
have
or
in
to
there?
determine?
Yeah. What do you have in your thing?
Differentiate.
You've got determine in your
Okay,
actual goal.
that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this goal is stretched out over day 2, day 3, and then your assignment kind of encompasses both learning goals.
Yes.
Okay. So this is
And we
actually
did that
for
because
this
we wanted to focus on a fiction book one day with the scavenger hunt, and then a nonfiction book the next day.
Did you
with
find that was
scavenger hunt.
now that you've taught that? Did you find like there was enough learning activities that two, like one on for fiction, one for nonfiction? That was enough. You wouldn't have
because
added
they-
any more.
Yeah, because they've been exposed
To
to it a
before.
lot prior to this.
Gotcha. Okay, so like you said, if somebody else picked this up, they wouldn't have to necessarily have Bear Snores on. They could
Yeah.
pick up any fiction book.
Right.
Distributive summarizing with fiction scavenger hunt, and you've got that link down there. Complete explanation. I know this is a fiction book because it has, and that's on your, because I saw that when I linked it, or when I looked it up a while ago.
Yeah.
And then complete graphic organizer using student scavenger hunts. Okay, tell me what that means.
That what's the difference? They shared the things that they found. You see what the difference anchor chart there? Or is that what that said? Complete the graphic. Yeah.
Oh, I see it.
You
Okay,
see
let's
that
scroll
picture?
down. Yes, I got it.
So after
Okay,
we
instead of
Bear
saying-
Snores on.
Okay, instead of saying complete graphic organizer, let's change that to
Anchor chart.
anchor chart. Yes.
Okay.
Do you understand why that might? Because like graphic organizer, I immediately thought the Venn diagram. Yes. It's hard for us sometimes to distinguish between those two.
This
I
one
was
right
going
here.
to put complete. Oops. What's the difference? How's that?
There you go. Perfect.
Anchor chart using the student scavenger hunt.
And then you're basically doing the same thing the next day. It's just with nonfiction. Correct.
How's that going up there?
You want me to just copy mine and paste it down there?
All I've got to do is put in the
Okay.
difference.
Okay. And again, you're going back to that first learning goal about the characteristics. And then for your assessment prompt, book box collaborative pairs. Good. Okay, so let's talk about that. Have you, in the bold here, it may help to think of each learning goal as an activity. And we've done that. We've linked our lower level and then sequenced them. And then have you made use of like distributed summarizing? Yes. ticket out the door, 3 foot. Those are a little bit, 3 5 cents on it is a little hard for first grade. But you've got some distributed sunrise in there. And then you chose collaborative pairs. Okay, so
Is that okay?
talk to me about that. What do you guys feel about your learning activities? Do you think they?
It went well.
It went very well.
Yeah.
Majority were, when it come time for the
When
big
the big
A,
A, they could do it.
Okay.
majority were
Okay.
able to give you more than one reason
Right.
why
So-
this is a fiction book, why this
So,
is a
yeah,
nonfiction
Very
book.
quickly, because we only have like 1 minute. Talk to me about how the difference is between how you taught the standard this time as opposed to how you would have in the past. Was this more rigorous than how you would have taught this same standard in the
Oh,
past?
yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's what you found out about most of the things you've been teaching.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you off the record, but it sounds like I can ask you on the record then. Do you feel like this type of planning, even though it's time consuming, is valuable?
I believe
Sometimes.
that it is. It is
Okay.
time consuming, which
Do you
being
see a
honest,
light
adds
at
stress. But this year's been better than last year.
Mhm.
I mean, planning it. Because we
Right.
started in January or so last year planning them, and so it's gone more smoothly this year.
Do you see a light at the end of the tunnel? As long as they don't change the standards?
Yes, because pretty much we've planned every standard this way now. So now it's going back and making it more rigorous,
rigorous.
and
Better.
and better.
Good, good.